Hi everyone. Today I'm going to take you through my American Renaissance literature final. So I'm going to explain what I'm going to do, and then the second part of the video is going to be my actual final product. So hope you guys enjoy. So the form and the story that I'm doing, so I'll be presenting Nathaniel Hawthorne's Rappaccini's Daughter in the form of a podcast. And I chose this form so the audience can follow one character in the format rather than having several characters be followed in more of like a third person point of view. And this format also allows the listener to hear the story where it's the most convenient for them. So if you're driving in the car or something like that and you're not able to read or have access to a book in a safe way, you can listen to this podcast so it's widely accessible. So some of the elements I plan to highlight and change. So Giovanni's point of view is going to be highlighted rather than, like I said, having a third person point of view. So because the point of view is being changed from first to third person, the story might feel a little bit more subjective towards his what he sees. But at the same time, I feel like that'll be a tad more entertaining for the audience to be able to follow one story and one storyline from a character. The language is going to be changed to fit a wider audience of today as opposed to the 1800s, and the interviewer is going to guide the plot along by asking questions rather than the actions of the characters and what the narrator is saying. So how is this relevant? So the story has a science fiction type feel to it, which is obviously still a relevant topic today. And podcasts are becoming an increasingly popular way of telling stories and providing entertainment. And just like the American Renaissance, the idea of what's ethical in science and what's not is still being debated today. So I thought that was a main theme that could be translated from each period. And what's the message? So I want the audience to ask questions about which acts in the story were ethical and which ones weren't. And like I said earlier, the audience might feel it's a little bit more subjective because it's from Giovanni's point of view rather than like a third-person narrator. And the audience should learn that there should be ethical and moral limitations to science and be able to apply that in a real-world situation with scientific advancements today. So obviously there's a bunch of stuff going on in science. I know vaccines are a huge debate today as well. So being able to apply lessons from the story, messages from the story to modern day science and modern day news, I would say, is the main message. So hope you guys enjoy. Hey everyone, and welcome back to It's Lit, the podcast where I interview characters from famous literature around the globe. I'm your host, Kyle Books, and we have a very special guest with us today. All the way from Padua, Italy, we have Giovanni Guasconti from Nathaniel Hawthorne's Rappaccini's Daughter. How's it going, Giovanni?
I'm great, and please, you can call me Gio.
That's awesome. So Gio, I hear you have a fascinating story to tell us that includes death and poison. That sounds crazy. Please tell us what happened.
Absolutely. So I'd recently moved to Padua to study medicine. I'm pretty broke at this point, right out of college, so I rent a room at this really sketchy house to save money. The one cool thing about that place, though, is that there's this terrace that overlooks the neighbor's yard, and they have this cool-looking garden. One of the ladies that lives in the neighborhood, Lisa Betta, was helping me move in, and she told me not to go down in the garden because, though, there's this crazy old doctor who's trying to make his plants poisonous.
That's so weird. I don't think I could deal with that. I would definitely be on apartments.com looking for a new place ASAP. Oh, that reminds me. I have a message from one of our sponsors. Looking to move to Italy without the threat of being poisoned? Maybe even have a room that can fit a full-size bed? Check out apartments.com. Anyways, continue.
Yeah, so I see the doctor come out to the garden with his daughter. We call the doctor Rappaccini, by the way, or sometimes Rap for short. Anyway, there's this huge purple flower in the middle of the garden right next to a cool-looking fountain, and he tells his daughter Beatrice to take care of it because it's too poisonous for him. So I'm pissed because Beatrice is gorgeous, like Miss Universe Italy gorgeous, and her dad makes her deal with the poison flower. But who am I to judge? Maybe he has a heart condition or something, so I don't make any assumptions.
So when we were talking before the show, you said your family got involved too. Lead us through how that happened.
Almost. So my dad's best friend from growing up is Professor Pietro Baglioni. He was around the house so much when I was a kid that I just call him Uncle Bag. He was actually my professor at university, so we're very close. I didn't know this at the time, but apparently Rappaccini and Bag are rivals. Someone told me they're like Tom and Jerry of the science community, only 10 times worse. So Uncle Bag tells me that this guy has no morals. He doesn't care what happens to his patients if it's for his gain. So he tells me to stay away from their family.
That's crazy. I feel like there has to be a line drawn somewhere on how you can treat patients ethically, but apparently this guy is immune to all repercussions. Okay, go on.
Oh, I totally agree. So, anyways, I come home one night after shopping all day for decorations to spice up my room a little bit. I'm organizing my room when I look outside and see Beatrice in the garden with that purple flower again. And after she's done watering it, she does a walkthrough of the rest of the garden. She walks by a couple flower pots and they start to turn this gross brown color and wilt. And then she walked by a mouse in the garden which let out a little squeal and died on the spot. I look on my bed and see this bouquet of flowers that a florist in town gave me as a housewarming gift, and I get a crazy idea. I call out to Beatrice and toss her the bouquet, which dies immediately. I'm so spooked out that I can't get this off my mind for days.
No way, so she's literally toxic. I swear this is straight out of a movie. So what'd you do next?
So after a few days, I'm just like, screw it. She's beautiful, I'm gonna shoot my shot. I go down to the garden to see her, socially distanced of course, and we start talking. She starts begging me not to judge her based on all the things dying around her, and like an idiot, I agree. Then I see this purple flower up close, and it's so mesmerizing that I just have to touch it. She bats my hand away. I guess she's just super overprotective of that flower. But by the time I get back to my room, my hand is red and throbbing. She didn't hit me that hard, so I knew something else was up.
That reminds me, we have another quick word from one of our sponsors. Ever feel achy and sore after a crazy poison lady touches you? Try Advil PM. That's Advil poison medicine for all your toxic wounds. Wow, these sponsors are so relevant to today's episode. Sorry about that. Carry on.
No worries. So we go on a few more dates, and it's impossible for me to tell what she's like. Is she a poisonous monster with no morals? Is she kind but just misunderstood? I have no clue. I'm obsessing over this girl, but then I talk to Uncle Bag again, and he tells me to cool it. Then Rappaccini passes both of us, and he definitely gave me a dirty look, even though he'd probably deny it. Baglioni gives me an antidote that he thinks will heal her and tells... I'll restart that line.
Okay.
No worries. So we go on a few more dates, and it's impossible for me to tell what she's like. Is she a poisonous monster with no morals? Is she kind, but just misunderstood? I have no clue. I'm obsessing over this girl, but then I talk to Uncle Bag again, and he tells me to cool it. Then Rappaccini passes both of us, and he definitely gave me a dirty look, even though he'd probably deny it. Baglioni gives me an antidote that he thinks will heal her, and tells me to give it to her the next time I see her.
Did you use it?
Okay, so that's where it gets interesting. I run out to buy flowers for our date, thinking if they wilt in her hands again, she's definitely poisonous and I need to cut things off. I get back to my room with the flowers, and I'm checking the mirror to make sure my outfit's alright. Then I realize the flowers are dying in my hands. At this point, I'm pissed. I run out to the garden and start screaming at Beatrice, blaming her for making me toxic. She keeps pushing the blame off, saying that she never dreamed of hurting me and that it was definitely her dad's fault. I'm still upset, and I force her to drink the antidote, but before she does, her dad comes in and interrupts us. He was trying to make us superhuman so that nothing we faced could ever hurt us. And Beatrice hated that he did that. She starts chugging the potion and just collapses on the floor and dies. End of story.
Oh my god, that's terrible. I'm so sorry for your loss.
It's alright, I'm over it. Anyway, Steven Spielberg reached out to me about making my story a movie, so at least I can say goodbye to my student loans.
Oh, really? So, I could definitely see Timothée Chalamet playing you in a movie. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Rappaccini's Daughter, out in theaters Christmas 2021. Big thanks to Gio for being on the show, and make sure to tune in next week, as we'll have Benito Cerino making a guest appearance. Thanks for tuning in.